What's going on? It's your boy CJ Goodfella back with the Boxing Clinic. Shout out to the LDBC one time for the one time. Speaking on, historically, pretty much modern day boxing, boxers who are products of weak divisions. Now, a lot of people can get offended, but it is what it is. Starting off with Golovkin, his whole claim to fame is that he's the best middleweight in the world currently, even before fuck with Ring TV, that's owned by Golden Boy, saying that they got Canelo as the champion, but everybody recognizes Golovkin as the best middleweight in the world. And I would ask people, what makes Golovkin, great. He hasn't fought any upper echelon, fighters that can look him in his eye. Skill wise, it's nobody fought comparable that's on his level. People will say Kell Brook, that's a welterweight, and Danny Jacobs, he hasn't done anything in his career but knock out Peter Quillin and get knocked out before. And I say that, and people say, well, it's his overall body of work of dominating a division, which is cool and all, but doesn't it matter who you dominate? Not what you dominate so much of a division. And if you look inside the box that he's dominated, I'm not impressed with any of the guys that he did dominate. And should it be an asterisk by that? He came over to America about 32, 33 years old. Rosado, Proska, Dominic Wade, Matthew Macklin, Curtis Stevens, David Lemieux, Daniel Gill, Martin Murray, Adama, Ishida. I'm just not impressed. I mean, his body of work is, lackluster, and everybody would tell you, well, Bernard Hopkins dominated the middleweight division and had this many title defenses for the record, and then the naysayers would say, well, Bernard, two of his marquee wins came over, former, lower weight class of welterweight Felix Diaz. I believe Oscar started off as a lightweight. Those was, two of his biggest wins that really catapulted him into stardom. And Bernard Hopkins is a guy who started north of 160 pounds, I believe, and came back down to 160 pounds. And, then got defeated by Jermaine Taylor. We all know that. And he had a lot of marquee victories, after that. But I just can't just say somebody was, dominant, and they didn't dominate anybody that was, good. I think being a product of a weak division, it shouldn't put you in an all-time great position, because when you're in a lower division, and your division isn't good or isn't popping, or you don't have, in a division lower than you don't have any potential foes that look like they want to move up and they're going to be an issue for you, or a challenge for you, you should move up and seek out that competition. Now, Golovkin is in good, position to do that. 168 is now starting to come together. They had a little tournament. It's starting to become some players there with Miguel Ramirez, David Benavidez, Caleb Plant. They're starting to really make a name for themselves now, and Golovkin can have some tough fights up there if he chooses to continue to fight on. Now, Terrence Crawford, let's start with Joe Calzaghe. Joe Calzaghe was a guy who never got the credit from the Americans because he was a domestic dude over there in Europe. He was domestic. He wasn't beating anybody. Even when he, one of my all-time favorite fights to watch, whooped the fuck out of Jeff Lacey, people still didn't give him a credit. Jeff Lacey was supposed to be this killer from Florida. I think that's where he's from. And, after he beat Jeff Lacey, people still diminish his skills, he beat Miguel Kessler when Miguel Kessler was very, very good. A lot of people overlooked that. That fight was on HBO. I remember watching that fight. He beat an older Roy Jones, but he beat him. He beat a Bernard Hopkins. That victory looks a lot nicer now when people say Bernard Hopkins over the hill. And that was, years ago. And that looks a lot nice. A lot nicer than what it did at the time. And, he's a guy who doesn't get the credit, But these same guys who's praising Triple G, some of the same people, the naysayers, will poke holes in his resume, but I just named like 4 or 5 marquee fights that he did have. That's 4 or 5 more marquee fights than Triple G has. So he's another guy that he didn't move up, but eventually he got the marquee fights, and he retired and didn't answer the call to come back to the game. He was happy with his body of work, and I think he's an all-time great fighter. From a scale of 1 to 1 million, he's on that scale. I'm not saying that he's 1, 10, 20, 25, 25,000, but he did have those marquee fights. And if Triple G beats Canelo and chooses to retire after this fight, he only had one marquee fight versus a guy who some people say, in Canelo Alvarez, had a lot of near misses in his career, even going back to when he was younger with Miguel Vasquez, going back to the Austin Trout victory, going back to the Arizona Delora victory. So he's scathed past. He's another dude that a lot of people don't give a lot of credit to because he scathed past a lot of guys, and, he misfired versus Floyd Mayweather. And again, he didn't fight the best at junior middleweight, is what people telling me. He didn't fight the Charlo brothers. He didn't fight Andrade, and stuff of that nature. That's what people are telling me. I'm not saying that I'm believing these things, but if Golovkin beats him, that's what the naysayers are going to say. Well, he had a loss. Well, he should have had 4 losses in Canelo Alvarez. So, how great is if Golovkin, if he chooses to walk through the game? Where is his his showdown versus a player that's equal to him? And even in the Canelo Alvarez fight, he's the betting favorite, I believe. And you go over to Terence Crawford. He's another guy who blossomed in a division that's 2 divisions that's not hot. Lightweight, he blossomed there. Jorge Linares, and some people have him in the pound for pound conversation. I don't agree. He was a guy that got knocked out by DeMarco, and Broner beat DeMarco, and then somehow he got his belts back after Terence Crawford, moved up, and everybody started recognizing him as being very, very good. But Crawford was there. He was seen as the dominant guy at lightweight. Nobody was going to beat him. I'm not sure Jorge Linares could even beat Yuri Jokic Gamboa at the time like Crawford did. But he's another guy that had no friction or no pushback at 135 pounds. And at 140 pounds, he did have a fight where most people thought Victor Postol would be more competitive and beat Terence Crawford. So, he had 2 marquee fights in with Gamboa and Postal, but people would say Gamboa was boxing him up. He was just too small. And people will ask, where's Postal now? And usually you can measure somebody's greatness determining how good the guy that they beat, that was, presumed to be almost a 50-50 fight with Postal, how good they doing after you fight, what they doing after they fight. And we haven't been able to gauge Postal because Postal hasn't fought since then. He's on the back of every milk carton in America. But, Crawford is about to fight for the lineal undisputed championship at junior welterweight August 19th versus Julius Indongo. And it's probably one of the most mediocre fights, lower level undisputed fights I have seen in recent memory, just for the simple fact that Indongo is a virtual unknown to most casual American and some hardcore fans. And, people are really clamoring for Terence Crawford to move up. He's at a different stage than Golovkin age-wise in his career. And I think if, Top Rank chooses to play nice with Al Haymon and other promoters, at 147 pounds, I think we will know exactly how good Terence Crawford is. But for now, he's a product of 2 subpar divisions, in my opinion. Lightweight, which has been subpar for so long, and now it's starting to crack-a-lack. Hopefully with Vasily Lomachenko and Mikey Garcia, Lomachenko moves up, if Mikey Garcia moves down. Robert Jr. just fighting last night. And a subpar effort, but you all have bad nights. But now at 140, which is dead man zone after years of being bumping with Timothy Bradley, Lamont Peterson, Victor Ortiz, Devin Alexander, Juan Urango, Lucas Matisse, Marcus Madonna, Amir Khan. You can go down the list of great junior welterweights they had like 5, 6, 7 years ago. He's just, even when Danny Garcia took it over, it was competitive with him and Matisse, Peterson still there. But now, it's watered down. And I think he has an opportunity, if he takes over 147, to blow up into an all-time great and put himself in position to, accomplish great things and retire at an early age, because he's going to make a lot of money in those fights. But, just my perspective on it. This your boy CJ Goodfellow with the Boxing Club.